What up, Rotogrinders? Dean here, Dean78904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. Hopefully, you'll see that somewhere hovering near the top of some contests going down tonight. Joined today, very intimate show, two-man booth. I don't know what I did to deserve this in a positive way. I don't know what Chop did to deserve this in a negative way. Head chopper, chopper of heads, eater of cereal, two-time millionaire winner, nickname giver, very quick on the like trigger on the old Twitter machine. Chop, man, we excited about tonight's it's a six gamer. It's kind of light, it's kind of quiet. A lot of news already kind of broke down for us.
I'm excited as much as you can be for late season NBA, but I'll say this, to the credit of the NBA, I know there's a lot of weird things going on, obviously Oklahoma City doing what they do and all that kind of stuff. But I was just thinking earlier today when we got some news, I was like, yeah, this is kind of like what it's good. This is last week of, this is what it's going to be like next week in the NBA, because that's the last week of the NBA. And that's kind of what happens. And then it occurred to me, wait a minute, we are in the last week of the NBA regular season. So actually it's not that bad. Like, it hasn't been all that bad up to this point. We're already on Wednesday and we only got a few days left. So it hadn't been terrible. But we got a bunch of news today. At least it broke nice and early, and we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Thing like last night, the Oklahoma City thing. I don't even know what to talk about that. But
I have so many thoughts about that.
We're in it, so we just plow through it. Am I excited? I'm usually not overly excited about the last week of the NBA because crazy things are happening. But tonight actually seems like a pretty fun slate.
Yeah, I'm ready for it to end. I'm ready for it to end and the playoffs to start, and baseball starts tomorrow. But I'm plowing through, and the OKC, that thing last night was insane. The reporting on it was crazy. They, by the way, have like the worst beats in the league. I don't know if they have beat writers in OKC. They never really give you anything. You get lineups like after lock. Okay, these five guys are starting. You just found out 3 minutes before the game starts. How does that happen? But they played six dudes. They played six guys. What's his name? Lindy Waters was playing too good. He made 2 threes and they kicked him off the court. Like, what are you doing? Kicked him off the court. Never came back for like 6 minutes or something like that in total. Like, dudes off the street playing 40 plus minutes, and they won. They beat Portland. Man, wild stuff. And of course now tonight they're on the back end of a back-to-back, and they're traveling and they're facing Utah. Utah countering by resting some players as well too. And we'll talk about that. Phoenix resting a bunch of guys in the back-to-back. There's what else do we have as far as potential shenanigans? I think we might see something out of Washington, 3 and 4 nights, and it's a back-to-back for them. Wouldn't be surprised if something happens with Rui or Porzingis or both. I can see something goofy happening there. They got a W last night in Minnesota, but they're not trying to win. They're just in a weird spot where they just want to knock out a couple games and go to the golf courses or whatever they're up to. Oh man, Chop. Anything else you want to say as far as this 6 gamer before we kind of dive in and break it down? We got plenty of time. Get comfortable. I don't know what else is on your mind, but we can veer off the path. You always have some fun random thoughts. Feel free to share them.
Yeah, we'll do that as we go. But we get into this thing game by game and figure. I might just build me a little FanDuel lineup as we go along here with each game and see what I can piece together just on the content of the show.
Let's do that. Yeah, that could be kind of fun. And we talked about a pre-show. Like you're focusing in your play tonight mostly on FanDuel. I'm focusing my play mostly on DK. So we got both bases covered. We just got an update as far as our lineup HQ tool, as far as projections. I'm curious to see. Let's just take a look at this. We have time before we break it down game by game. What do we have as far as our best point per dollar plays currently listed? Pulling up FanDuel, pulling up DK and lineup HQ, got both pages pulled. Pulling point per dollar rankings, of course, raw points matter. On FanDuel, you got JaVale. JaVale McGee is stone minimum. Of course, the opportunity cost of centers. You can only roster one center over there. It's not like it was last night. We talked about it a ton last night with the, Embiid, who smashed, Jokic, who smashed. So, it's one of those deals where, if McGee was on last night, he gets 27 points, and that's quote-unquote value. But that's still, not good enough because you missed out on Jokic, you missed out on Embiid. And, it's really hard to make up those points in other spots. Jordan Clarkson, second most popular player as far as point per dollar, then Campaign. The absence of Suns tonight, the absence of Jazz, that kind of makes sense. DK, Aaron Holiday is stone minimum on DK at 3K. I missed that too in my rankings today. That's interesting. He's not somebody I was like, I'm excited by Aaron Holiday, but if he is 3K, he's kind of interesting. Then Clarkston, then Campaign, JaVale, Dan House, another cheapie on Utah. Do I have you excited, Chop? Are these names getting you riled up?
I'm excited, Dean.
Is that your excited voice? I can't tell.
I'm excited, man. I'm into it now. I'm ready to go now.
I mean, we're going to make some lineups here on the fly. Very first game. Well, you're going to make some panel lineups. I'm curious when you come up with let's have a good time with that. Again, plenty of time to knock out these 6 games. What up there on YouTube? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. And any questions y'all may have, whatever's on your mind, whatever you want us to elaborate, feel free to do that because, we have plenty of time. End the show. We'll knock out all your questions. Do also want to mention, hey, let's ask this one, Chop. PGA, the Masters. I'm told the Twitter has told me the Masters is coming up in, I guess, tomorrow, right? I think it's Thursday through Sunday. Not a golf guy. We have a discount going on right now. Rotogrinders, I believe it's normally $350 for the Masters package. Not the Masters package, the golf package. Now it's $199.99, rotogrinders.com. So it is on sale. Now that's if you just want an a la carte. If you just want, I want only golf content and nothing else. You're watching a basketball show and you only want golf content. That will be surprising, but if that's what you're doing, you can do that. Or of course, if you're getting the combo package, you get all the sports, in one price with the exception of NASCAR, but everything else. And baseball, of course, starts tomorrow as well too, Chopper. We'll talk about all these things. We'll kind of dabble through it, but baseball starts tomorrow. $10 off your first month for baseball as well. $10 off your second month. First month and second month, $10 off for baseball. I've yet to have a chance to read Dave Potts' Jesus Goods article, but I'm excited to read that tonight. I believe weather is lurking as well too. So Kevin Roth going to be all over that as well. Job, give me a thought as far as the Masters. You got to have a thought in this. You've won. I know you came close to winning $1 million once. I don't know if it was the Masters, but it was one of them. You got some golf thoughts for me, right?
Not really. I have to say, not really. But I'll say no. I came close one time on the U.S. Open.
Okay.
I came close on the U.S. Open one time, but we're at the Masters, and one of the first things I think of when I think of the Masters is Jordan Spieth. He always seems to dominate out there. So, he's a guy I'm definitely eyeballing. And after that, I just.
Are you firing? You playing some contests?
Yeah, that's the thing about it, Dean. I haven't really followed golf for months, probably since the last major last year. And so now, you got to get back into it because, it's the Masters and you certainly don't want to be sitting there, sitting on your thumb all weekend while everybody's tweeting about the Masters and you ain't got no action in play. So
you had to edit yourself there for a second. I kind of saw where you were going.
Yeah, man. So I'm definitely firing on some golf this weekend. And I've always thought that when you get to the big ones like this, yeah, the young guys, the new guys, they could win, they could do well, but those are more anomalies than anything else. I think the tried and true guys who are the top in the world, this is when you want to load up on those guys and find a couple of those guys that are really value driven this weekend. because I just see, the best in the world really kind of shine in the majors. So I don't think you want to get too cute. I've seen a lot of cute articles so far with, predicting these young weird
Hot takes.
guys. Yeah, and I'm not into it, man. Just give me
You
the
want to
good
call
stuff.
somebody out?
No, I don't want to call. Why would I call anybody out, man? That's terrible. Because then the next thing I'm getting called out for. And believe me, I've been called out before, and it's not fun. I don't like it. I don't. It's not gonna ruin my day, but I don't like it. But
you only won $1 million because you had every combination covered.
That's a good one. But yeah, just stick with the good ones. Stick with the good players. But Jordan Spieth, he stands out to me. I always have a thing in the majors for Dustin Johnson because he's so talented. So DJ, even though he did miss the one putt from like 3 feet that would have got me the big bucks one time, but that's okay. But yeah, I like to stick with the good players, so it should be fun.
I appreciate that you don't hold a grudge because that guy missed like a gimme, and I think that my understanding is like 98, 99% of the time that goes in, and just you're a lock, you're good to go, and that's all you needed. And he maybe 3-putted or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? Do you know what's funny about that? And like everybody says, oh, what a bad beat, what a bad, and as I watch that, I'm not even nervous about that. Like when I watch the Astros in the World Series or Houston in the NCAA tournament, things like the teams I support that I really like, I'm like 100 times more nervous watching those. Like I have to turn the channel sometimes because I don't want to see the next pitch because the next pitch could end the game and whatever
That's so wild.
I know it's wild. The money doesn't do it. It's the fandom. It's the tribalism, as Evan Silva would say. The tribalism will get you, man. So it's weird like that, though.
Rooting for laundry, man. That's wild. And I found like the older I've gotten, like the less I care about my tribalism, whatever, as far as my favorite teams and whatever. I still root for some teams, but I don't care as much, and I guess I care more about
it goes full circle, Dean. I was like that too for a long time with DFS. I was like, I don't even much care about these other teams anymore. I used to be huge fans. Now it's all DFS, and now as I progressed even more, now it's gotten back to like less DFS and more about the teams.
All right, let's speak about a couple teams tonight playing some basketball. One game going down at 7:00. Dallas at Detroit. Dallas, the Mavericks, 218.5 is the total. Dallas is an 8-point favorite here. As far as the body parts are monitoring in this game, Dallas pretty healthy. They are going to be without Maxi Kleber, but otherwise they're good to go. Detroit claims that Cade Cunningham is available. Bagley is out. Olynyk is out. Joseph is out. McGruder is out. They still have a lot of bodies. Well, they have 10. And they've talked about stressing playing the younger guys. They even talked about like Sadiq Bey was crushing last game, but they suppressed him. They said, listen, we just want to get young guys some run. So I imagine that's going to continue going forward. Detroit's been involved in the tankathon, doing a terrible job. They won 3 games in a row. Just egregious on their part. They're still in the 3 spot, which is acceptable. Get that 14% to get the number 1 pick there. The tricky thing here, well, we'll talk the Pistons in a second. Let's knock this one out, Chopper. Luka Doncic, you have the money to get Luka. It's not hard. We'll talk about Durant. There's some other big spends, of course, on this slate, but Luka seems really, really easy to get. Is that somebody that you're just going to say, give me Luka, give me those raw points, and I'll figure out the rest?
Great question, Dean. Fantastic question to start off the show. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that because number one, what is Detroit going to do with their team tonight? I mean, didn't we see like about 5 days ago where, guys played like in the first few minutes and then took a seat on the bench and then never returned, like Cade Cunningham, good player. Sadiq
and
Bey,
they still won.
Yeah. So like if they try something like that, this is Dallas. Dallas is such a good team that this thing could get out of hand. And next thing you know, Luka's not needed very much. I mean, that's obviously 30 plus point blowouts are a thing this time of year right now. So you got to be careful of that. Is Dallas really into it? I mean, I know they say, what they say and what they do are two different things. They say, well, we want to chase the highest seed possible and we're going to go out there but do they really mean that when they're sitting here facing down a Detroit team that really doesn't look very good and they know they can win? Or are they already planning on maybe resting Luka a bit? So I don't know. There's also a thing this time of year where you can literally leave thousands of salary on the table and build the optimal team that way, because Luka's 55 tonight might be nothing compared to Jalen Horde's 60. You know, it might be about the raw points, and the raw points might come from the two teams who are just terribly throwing in the towel, running up and down the court, getting a ton of points. So right now, I'm not going to put Luka in there, but I obviously don't blame anybody if I'm playing a cash game, just one lineup for a lot of money. Luka's going in there though.
Yeah, nobody who's playing cash games. Like, God bless if you're playing cash right now.
I'll tell you who's playing cash game. Mr. Kirk Deese. Mr. Kirk Deese on Kid Yahoo. He's playing some cash. He always plays some cash, man.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what he's getting as far what kind of action he's getting, and heads. I guess it's enough to make it work as worth his while, and I'm sure he's doing well. But that's interesting. So not Detroit. We'll talk about Detroit in a second. Dallas, in my opinion, fully incentivized. They are trying to climb up. They're currently in the 4 spot. I think they want that 3 spot because if they're thinking ahead, they probably want to avoid Phoenix as long as possible. I think Phoenix has been the best team in basketball this year. Like, it's by whatever measure you want to use. And Memphis has been great, but I think you'd rather face Memphis in the second round. Ideally, that they're kind of planning ahead there. They would play, I guess, Denver in the first round as opposed to playing Utah. And I don't really know which one would be better or not, but I don't know. I think Dallas is trying to win. Kids talked about them trying to win, and I suspect that they'll do their best to win basketball games tonight. As far as Detroit, yeah, it was 2 games ago. If I pull up the court IQ as far as Detroit at OKC, where Sadiq Bey played the first 6 or 7 minutes of the first quarter and just disappeared. Played 6 minutes total. Cade Cunningham played the first 7 minutes of the first quarter, then disappeared. Poof. Beef Stew, 6 minutes. Boof. Disappeared. Those guys are all gone. And then you had Isaiah Livers playing 43 minutes. Pickett, Jamorko Pickett played 39 minutes. So yeah, there was complete. And that was also against OKC. So I think that matters because OKC was a team you gotta really bring the tank if you're playing against OKC. That's a tough opponent. Last game against Indiana, another tough opponent to tank against. Detroit would have had it a little bit differently, where now Cunningham didn't play this game, but most guys just played minutes in the mid-20s. So I don't know what they're going to do. To try to guess what they're going to do is really, really tricky. But I do think that they're going to lean on the youth movement, Chop, as far as Detroit. And let's pull up our projections. And the projection team, it's rough this time of year for them. Yeah, this doesn't surprise me. The biggest projection as far as minutes that we have is Isaiah Livers at 32 minutes in Detroit. And I don't know, he's now no longer 3K, obviously. He's 5K on FanDuel. So, he's not like this lock and load play. Not even necessarily a great play. He's playable, sure, but I don't think he's in my first lineup or second or third. I can't imagine. Do you think they extend Cunningham to a bunch of minutes? I don't think so. You have a thought on that?
Yeah, my thought is if I'm pulling up the projections and I'm not seeing anybody on the team even projected over 30 fantasy points on a team, on any team, it's probably something I'm going to avoid. And I don't think I would be messing with Detroit anyway today. There's obviously way too much value that's out there. And I mean, what are we really searching for here with Detroit? You're just asking to kill lineups by playing Detroit players. You have no idea. I don't think you have an idea of what's going to happen with some of these guys, or like you said, if everybody's just going to get capped at 24 minutes, nobody exceeds 24 minutes. That's it. That's all we're going to do. So I can't play them. That's my thought is there's so many better spots, so many more better. I don't need the salary. I don't see any upside here unless it's a guy off the radar, like an Isaiah Livers, and they say, you go out there and play 40 minutes, and then he puts up this 50-point game. Like, if that happens, then I just, so be it. I can live with that, but I'm not touching Detroit here today.
You follow college basketball. Let's test your knowledge. Where did Isaiah Livers come from? I've never heard of
Michigan.
Him. There it is. Was he good in college? Do you remember?
No, he was probably about the third or so option on their team last year.
Okay, yeah, and I got another one for you. I don't know where this guy came from, but Carson Edwards, which sounds like a great
that's
player.
a Purdue. I think that's Purdue guy.
like they gave him a pile of minutes last game, and like
he can score, man. I give him credit. He's a little short guy, but he's just one of those guys that you could tell is a real basketball player. He can score. So anytime a guy like that gets heavy minutes and heavy usage, he's a threat to drop a pretty big game scoring wise. So I can understand that one.
So Carson Edwards is 5'3" on FanDuel. I don't really think that's no much to talk about, but he's 3.5 on DK. And like, again, there's an opportunity he plays 30 minutes tonight. And again, there's other good stuff we'll talk about that feels a little bit more secure. Utah, Phoenix, we'll get into. But like Carson Edwards is one of those guys. Like Detroit's talking about a youth movement, and I don't know if he's really theoretically a part of like when they're good. He's probably not on this team. I don't think they have a lot of invested in him. Like Braxton Key is another guy. Like they're just like getting these guys. Pickett, who knows? But like Edward, if I'm running 150, and I'm not, but if I am running 150 on DK, Carson Edwards, without a doubt, is in the pool.
Absolutely. I would say that. Yeah, 150, and you got to take some chances, and that's a chance I'm willing to take. Absolutely.
Would you play anybody like Isaiah Stewart? Sadiq Bey again. Bey was awesome last game.
It's weird, but if I look at a guy on Detroit or some of these other teams we'll talk about, and I see that they have a future in this league, and that the team actually values them, like a Cade Cunningham or a Sadiq Bey, then I'm probably not playing them tonight. Because if they value and they think you're that good, you're probably not going to get the full amount of run tonight. So no, I probably wouldn't touch any of those guys. Guy like Carson Edwards, they just signed. So obviously there's not a lot invested into him, and just let him run out there and do this thing. Obviously the players and the coaches want to win, but the front office wants these guys to lose, and that's kind of why they're putting them in this position. So the Detroit's just one of those teams that probably beneficial to just lose this game tonight, and that's the way they're going to play it.
Yeah, like we always talk about that, and like people say like the tanking, and then we have that conversation. And in no way am I ever saying the players aren't tanking. Like a lot of these guys, like they want to ball out, they want to play the best game of their life, they want to put some good tape out there and get signed. Like a couple of the Indiana guys are getting signed to like 2-year multi-year contracts. I think Taylor got signed. Like he was a part of that tank movement for Indiana. But yeah, the point is like the coaches are not putting them in the position to win. Management does not want them to win, but the players are trying their absolute best. Just some of them are just limited talent wise. By the way, this is amazing, Chop. I'm not sure if you saw that. You have your buzzer, your noise effect. I think it's a sound word. Noise effect worthy.
I know what you're going to do, but you want me to drop the horn on you?
I think it's worthy. Okay, it's insane. Okay. What do you have? So OKC, they waived Olivier Sarr. He played a pile of minutes last night. Okay, let's waive Sarr and pick up Melvin Frazier Jr. Okay, Chopper, let's put you to the test. Who is Melvin Frazier Jr.? Besides the son of Melvin Frazier.
That doesn't even sound like a name I know right there. That's the problem. Didn't OKC like win last night or something like that? Like,
yes.
There is not a front office in this league that wants to lose more right now than OKC. They really value that percentage next to your name with the worst rate. They really want the best odds of getting into that top spot somehow, and they're just blowing out. So when they look at Sarr and said, this guy was too good, we got to get rid of him and go for the guy who we've never heard of before. So just kind of like that. I think that may be a precursor to what they do tonight with that lineup. So keep that in mind.
But Melvin Frazier Jr. is going to play tonight, right? Like he might start.
That's why they're not signing the guy to sit on the bench. They need this guy to come in and put up some air balls.
Is he in the player pool? Who is he? He was with the Iowa Wolves, which I don't know if that was a part of the. You played college basketball at Tulane, by the way. Is that refresh anything for you? Tulane. He's 25. He's been around for a while.
Oh, that's why it doesn't. That's why I can't get it. He's been out of college for 7 years.
Who is this guy? Good for him, but like, oh my god. All right. Yes, I will. All right. Yeah. So, all right. My camera has gotten goofy on me. Now I'm going to check and see if Frazier is actually in the player pool. He is. He's a 3K shooting guard on DK. Feel free to check out FanDuel in a second as I white balance my camera. Hopefully this will work. If not, we'll figure it out in a second. All right. We should stay on task as far as Detroit, but I did feel like that was worth mentioning as far as the OKC. We will almost definitely see some sort of shenanigans. And you're right. They absolutely want to lose. Chop, you ever see that video of the coach in the locker room? I think it's like a soccer team in like Europe, like slapping every single player. You know what I'm talking about?
I know, but it sounds good.
I picture that's what OKC did last night after they won. Like all the players like lined up and just smacking every player. What are you doing winning out there? Man, we're gonna see some shenanigans for sure. And we'll talk about that game. That's a 9:00 game, and we'll almost definitely not have a starting lineup for OKC until like 8:50 on the East Coast. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right. Final thoughts as far as Detroit. They're like, for me, and it sounds like we agree that like they're probably the least interesting team on the slate, or one of the least interesting teams in the slate.
Yeah, they're up there as one of the least interesting, and I don't plan on having very much, if any, exposure to any Detroit guy. And to top it off on the Dallas side, really, if you want to play Luka and go out there and chase your 60 points, that's good. Other than that, I'm not seeing with the players that are out there tonight, I'm not seeing a lot outside of Luka in this game at all that I really want.
Yeah, I think Powell is kind of sort of someone interesting. I think he does okay, but I don't know how much I need Powell. And the other part that's important, like we know news is going to drop. We know stuff's going to open up. OKC, there's a real chance that they play 6 guys or 7 guys and they still just bench Poku. But it's kind of a different situation where like the tank should take care of itself against Utah. In theory, they should lose organically. It should just happen. Although Utah is not full strength, but I'm not sure. But yeah, and buying myself more time for news is kind of the point I'm making here, Chop. And like, do you really want to tie yourself up in like DFS? Like, no. Dorian Finney-Smith, like, what is his upside? I want to save that space for other stuff to potentially go down. I think I'm higher on Luka than you are. Not that you don't like him, I understand. But, I just think that locking in those points, I think he's going to be the highest scorer on the slate. Or he's projected to be, in the conversation. Yeah, he's projected to score 6-7 more points than anybody else in the slate, which is pretty wild. That's FanDuel scoring for what it's worth. Trae Young, Durant, Tatum, Kyrie, DeRozan right behind him. But yeah, I got nothing else really to get excited about as far as Dallas and Detroit. Ownership wise, there's some Brunson, there's some Powell, there's a little bit of DFS, but that's basically it, Chop. We got anything else in this game, or shall we move on?
We got to move on, Dean. We're running out of time.
I don't think we're running out of time. We got plenty of time, man. Yeah, Brooklyn, New York. Battle in New York. 230 is the total. Brooklyn's a 5-point favorite. Brooklyn wants to win. They're currently in that 8 spot. They want to stay in that 8 spot. They want to play the 7-8 game. They don't want to play the 9-10 and then the winner of the 7-8. So they should absolutely want to win this basketball game tonight. Seth Curry expected to be available tonight. Nectat James Johnson still out. Goran Dragic still out. The Knicks are without Randall, which is kind of a big deal. Grimes, McBride are questionable. Not a big deal, really. Noel is out. Of course, Rose, Reddish, Kemba. Those guys have been out forever. All right, so let's talk about the Brooklyn side. It is a back-to-back, but again, they are incentivized to win. It's the Durant and Kyrie show. Last night it was the Kyrie show, scoring at least like 40 points in the bucket or something like that. Durant kind of scuffled a little bit. They are a couple big spends. Again, you're going to have the money to spend up on at least 2 guys tonight. Not that hard to make that happen, as far as I can tell. I've not run optimals yet, but I assume that's what they're giving me. Start with the Brooklyn side, Chopper. How do you feel? And do you have a preference as far as Kyrie versus Durant, or is that more of a lineup construction thing?
Let's see. First off, for Brooklyn, this is having James Johnson out of this game is a fantastic thing for Brooklyn. All right, because he's been an anchor on that lineup, and I don't mean in the good kind of anchor, like he anchors you down, man. He's our glue guy. No, I mean an anchor like drags your ass down to the bottom of the sea. He's been bad.
Tell that to his face. He's like 5 black.
I'm not going to tell it to his face, Dean. I'm not going to tell, but you know what I'm saying here. He's just not been good in real life basketball for this team. So it's good to have him out of there. It helps their chances of winning, actually. So if you're asking me to choose between the 2 studs, I think I'm leaning Durant. Obviously, he's a lot more expensive than Kyrie. It's a different position. So you're right. Whatever your roster construction is, but Brooklyn absolutely needs to win this game. They want to win these last 3 games of the year. They don't want to be stuck in with 2 must-win games even though they'll probably win them, you don't want to be stuck there. So they want this game. And the good thing about this game is Tibbs will have New York play hard, and they'll play it out to the end. So Brooklyn hasn't shown a real ability to put their foot on the throat of the weaker competition and get out of there by the third quarter anytime recently. So not since that Philly game where they really put it on Harden and Embiid, right? So they're going to let New York hang around probably. They're going to get plenty of run here, and they're going to be trying to win. So I want one of those two guys, Durant or Kyrie, on my team. I prefer Durant, but he's much more expensive. But I got a feeling somebody's going to light it up here for Brooklyn, one of those two guys. Otherwise, I don't like the minutes for Andre Drummond recently. It's a kind of a red flag, but man, he has that ability to come out and drop a quick double-double in 25 minutes and put you up 35 points, and it's not bad. I don't know that you need it tonight, so I'm not there. Bruce Brown's turned into a much better player than I thought he would, and for fantasy purposes, he does really well when one of the big two is out of there. But with both of them playing, I'm not sure I want to go Bruce Brown, and so there's nothing really after that I want. The rest of the guys are pretty much just spot up shooters and things like that. So it's either Durant or Irving, but I kind of feel like I want to have one of those guys on my team tonight.
Yeah, lineup construction wise, it feels like Durant is easier to make work. We talk about some of the value plays on this slate that we'll get through, but like Campaign is a guard, Jordan Clarkson is a guard. So it seems like some of the value is at the guard spot. So I would imagine that Durant might be easier to get just from that perspective. Curious what we have as far as ownership. Maybe that's a bad read, but we'll see. Let's see. What do we have projected ownership wise? And of course, we always talk about how this stuff is fluid. It is ever changing, but on DK, well, that's interesting. We have Kyrie at 15% and Durant at 11%. Okay. That kind of surprises me because again, I think the guards is where you're saving money at tonight. Of course, you have more versatility making a DK lineup as opposed to a FanDuel lineup. Let's see if it's different on FanDuel. It's an even greater discrepancy, Chopper. Kyrie's 37% there and Durant's 22%.
There's a $3,000 price difference between the two on FanDuel.
That's a good point. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a little bit closer as far, and that's obviously salary cap reasons. So maybe that's what it is. But I was thinking, Kyrie at 8.6 on FanDuel is, dude. That's if you're not playing Luka, I think you're playing Kyrie, right? I feel like you got to get one of those two, maybe.
I would say you definitely want if you're not playing Luka, one of these two guys from this game here on this team. I mean, Kyrie, what is this for? So back-to-back. So he just dropped a massive game last night, almost 60 points. So I kind of feel like it's going to be Durant taking over tonight, but I get it, though. I think I want one of these two guys, yeah.
Do you like anybody else? Anybody else kind of jumping out for you? Like we see Claxton get going on occasion. You mentioned Drummond. He had some foul trouble last night. One of the reasons why his minutes got cut short. He had closed, which is at least positive to see. I think he ended up playing 20 minutes or so or something like that. Did they add LMA back to the rotation last night? I feel like that did happen. Yeah, he played 17 minutes, dusting him off. Not that you want to play him. I'm just kind of think how he mucks everybody else up. Patty Mills is. Thank God I don't have to think about Patty Mills with Curry.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, they're all going to kind of wash each other out after the big two. So no, there's not really anybody that stands out. I don't want anybody on Brooklyn except for one of the two big guys.
That's pretty much where I'm at. Talk about New York.
Here you go. Here's a good player for you, D.
Who's that?
RJ Barrett. Did you know during let's see, what is it? I don't know when the season started. November, September, October, maybe mid-October, November, December. Those 3 months of the year, RJ Barrett didn't even crack. He didn't average over 30 DraftKings points or right around there, DraftKings FanDuel points in any of those months. Then in January, he took over this team. Like he started to alpha it, man, and he picked it up 35 points a game in January, 40 plus in February, and he's just kind of built on it in the second half of the year here. So he's been really good. It's been his team for a few months now, and now you get no Randall, which increases his fantasy output by a pretty good margin here. So RJ Barrett, I think, is a guy that I think I can live with. Maybe a few cheap guys, that I think have upside, maybe a couple of expensive guys, and then some mid-range guys. And RJ Barrett is that one of those mid-range guys, I think, in this kind of a matchup could have a monster game. So I definitely like RJ Barrett. You're on mute, bud.
Rookie mistake. You think I
Rookies,
figured it
man.
out. Unbelievable. Yeah, so I was actually asking a good question too. I think if you're playing Barrett, and I like Barrett, Barrett's fine. I have to assume you're running it back with one of Durant or Kyrie.
That's the weird thing, D. Sometimes I just don't need a run back. Like I hear that all the time. Like you got to run it back. I don't know. Sometimes you just don't need a run. Sometimes you just want to play what you think are the highest players out there, and you're taking a chance on them, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a run back to it. But I think RJ Barrett stands alone. That's fine. Of course, if you put a Durant or a Kyrie on the same team, it makes you feel better to your eyes. It's aesthetically pleasing to have that run back, but I don't think it's necessary. If I'm building 150, I might set some rules in lineup HQ that say if I play Barrett, play one of Durant or Kyrie. But
yeah,
but I don't necessarily think if I'm building 20 lineups, I don't have to have a run back. Not on a night like tonight. It's just madness tonight, right? I'm not really, because I think when you start talking about that, just goes to like some gameplay stuff. Like most nights, you're looking for this path to how can I have the highest score out there? And there's not all this value. There's not all these tanking teams and doing all this. So one of those paths is game stacking. Then I sit back, I hope for this crazy game or even an overtime or a double overtime. Then I could really hit the jackpot. On a night like tonight, a game stack is a lot less appealing just because I'm going to have a 40-point score for men's salary somewhere out there, like on Oklahoma City or all this value out there. I don't really need to worry about a game stack necessarily.
It's worth bringing up that point you mentioned. Like, I do agree. Some people kind of force the run backs when maybe it's not even necessarily a great idea. I understand you're shooting for the top of a certain contest and like you're looking for like the major outliers, but yeah, it is worth noting and it's worth pointing out. Like that's something you have to do. But I was thinking like Barrett in my brain, he's like the underdog. And like, if this game stays close, if New York is playing fairly well, it's probably because Barrett is doing things. I suppose Burks can, and Quickly is another guy that's worth noting. And where's Quickly in the mix for you? Because I think he was a guy that like was more interesting earlier in the day. Now with the Utah news, Clarkson's jumped him. With the Phoenix news, campaign has jumped him. I don't know how much he tumbles down as far as ownership. Now we're looking at 10%, but like he's still a fine play. And we saw him triple-double not too long ago. Theoretically, he's a big part of their future. I think he should be. He's definitely shown some flashes, but at the same time, he's probably not going to start. And there's a chance he only plays 24 minutes. He also could play 30. Thoughts on the rest of the guys on New York? I guess Burks and Quickly the most interesting. Oh, and Obi Toppin, who seems like basically probably blowout proof. I think they play no matter what. Well, the good thing about New York is I think they might all be blowout proof. And it does go to like, now I don't want to, if somebody thinks this is a good a game to stack, I get it. Because like you said, Tibbs is probably going to run these guys into the ground regardless. So, a Barrett, Quickly, whatever, three Knicks and then the big two on Brooklyn. And then you come back and you fill it in with whatever you need because your salary won't be an issue tonight. You can grab value from all over the place. So I get it. And yeah, Quickly's been good lately. So he's getting more run. I like that. Although, yeah, like you said, I immediately moved him down my rankings today when I got the Utah and Phoenix news because Cam Payne jumps up over him and so does Jordan Clarkson. And so he goes down, but he's still a fine player. Mitchell Robinson's been good. Obi Toppin is a little bit more, man, I would rather have another guy out of the mix for me to really fully trust Obi Toppin. Like maybe if Barrett was sitting along with Randall, I'd feel a lot better about it. Because the salary has kind of jumped up to where, like, it's not all that comfortable, at least on FanDuel. But I get it. He can play, but I think there's a lot of value out there. But those other three, Barrett, Robinson, Quickly, they look good. If you want to take a chance on Burks, he's been good lately. I mean, there's a couple of these guys that are in the mix. I think Barrett stands out for me, and then there's a second tier of Burks, Robinson, Quickly. And then there's a third tier of Toppin, and I don't want to touch Evan Fournier.
And but Barrett stands out above. But and like I said, I don't want to discourage anybody. If you feel like this is a good game stack, there is actually merit for it. Typically, I'm not a big game stacker, but yeah, if this game does stay close, Tibbs will play these guys a lot, and Durant and Irving will play a lot because they need to win this game, and it's in New York. So there's good features to a game stack here.
Gardner will be hopping as much as possible these days for Knicks games, I would imagine. And the thing on top, and I was talking about him being potentially blowout proof. They won. They beat Orlando by 30 last game, and he played 35 minutes, and he played the last 6 minutes. He closed up 30. Started the game as well too. So I feel. I mean, they just want to get him some runs, see what they have in him. Former lottery pick, and I imagine. I feel like his minutes are pretty secure. Fantasy point minute guy. So. And that's kind of where I'm at on him. And quickly, worth noting in that game, comes off the bench, played every minute of that fourth quarter with the exception of the last minute. But, 30-point game, he's still in there. And maybe they just want to get him the triple-double. He got 20, 10, and 10. I don't know if he immediately came out right after it, but yeah.
Little-known fact, Dean, little-known fact.
Here it is.
Obi Toppin, when he played a lot of college ball.
Okay.
He was drafted, and people didn't want him. The Knicks fans didn't want Obi Toppin because he's kind of an old guy. So Obi Toppin is actually older than Kyrie Irving, believe it or not.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
No, you should have went with somebody that's like clearly questionably younger. Or Kyrie's got to be like 30, right?
Kyrie's 30 years old.
Okay, and Obi is how old now?
Okay, you got me, Dean. My facts might be a little bit off on this one. Obi, I think Obi's like 25, but he was an old rookie.
Yeah, I got the Bing. I got the Google. I can fact check you if I need to.
Yeah, I don't know, but you're probably right. Obi Toppin would probably get a lot of run, but I don't know. I just think he's a clear step down from the rest of those guys. Like, so how many Knicks can you play tonight? How many do I want to play? I mean, there's so much value out there. I don't want to play too, but. Yeah, Barrett stands out and quickly stands out with the run he's been getting, and Mitchell Robinson stands out with Randall out. So at some point I got to draw a line. I don't want to play 4 Knicks tonight, not with all this other good stuff going on.
Theoretically, I think you can play 3, but you're right. Like there's so much other good stuff we'll talk about. Maybe you cap it at 2. I don't know if you have to play both Brooklyn guys, but again, of course, if this game goes overtime, maybe both those studs can get there. I'm not sure. I've not run it, but I do think I'm going to have probably at least 2 New York, 1 of Durant, Kyrie, that kind of thing. I think I'll make a lineup like that. You got anything else in this game that's worth noting, or shall we power on through?
I think it's time to move it on.
All right. Washington, Atlanta, 234 is the total. Atlanta is a 11-point favorite. Just going to refresh. Again, I have my speculation that Washington might do something goofy tonight. That's just me and my paranoia. Sometimes it's right. I called the Phoenix one last night. Like Phoenix is going to rest their dudes today. That one was kind of sort of clear. But Washington, as far as we know, fully healthy. Atlanta, Gallinari, Bogdanovich are questionable. Washington playing for nothing. Atlanta is jockeying for position. They would like to win this game and jump up to the 7-8 spot. They have the same record as Brooklyn currently. So Atlanta is incentivized to get that W, and they're well positioned to do so. I was saying I will be shocked if we see Rui Hachimura or Porzingis back half of a back-to-back 3 and 4 nights. Both those guys with clear injury histories. Not trying to spread any paranoia, but just saying something goofy might happen there, and it can all of a sudden be a Denny Avdia night. What do you have as far as the Wizards?
This is probably I don't want to be that guy, but this is probably another stay away for me because, like you said, I don't trust that Porzingis is going to get enough minutes in this game at that salary to make it worth our while. And then there's a lot of guys. Like, if anything, my initial thought this morning when I looked at it was, oh, this might be a Daniel Gafford night. He has fantasy upside and he could get in there. So there's that. I'm seeing a pretty good projection for Ish Smith. Can't do that. I can't do it. You're taking up a roster spot, and I don't know. I want with the other guards out there. I don't know that I want to do that. So, and same thing with Avia. They don't do it for me. Porzingis, I can't expect to get the full minutes I want. So Washington is not really a team I'll be putting on my FanDuel lineup tonight.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I mean, of course, this stuff is pending if things change. You mentioned Ish, and like he is, the models like him. They're projecting him well, but same old story. Like, I mean, Washington does not have to see what they have in 30-year-old Ish Smith or whatever he is. Third game in 4 nights, he's kind of an old dude, but he's been good. Don't take credit away. Give him the credit for being solid, but I don't know how much run they would give him. And they have Satoransky as well too, and he's another guy that they picked up along the season, I believe. I'm not sure, was he on this team all year? It all kind of meshes together, but just starting getting some run of late. No, it's at some point you got to play somebody. Obviously, I don't know. Anthony Gill is not somebody I get excited about. Thomas Bryant on the bench, another injury history guy they wouldn't give a ton of minutes to. Yeah, it's sort of tricky as far as Washington, but as of right now, like there's no priorities. Running 150, of course, you can get pieces of Porzingis and until stuff like that changes. As far as Atlanta, Trae Young can always get loose. We don't know about, a couple of their guys. As always, it's been the case. Seems like every single day they've had a couple wings that are questionable. Tonight, it's Gallinari and Bogdanovich. Where are you at as far as the Hawks? And where is Trae Young when you consider him versus contemporaries like Luka and Kyrie? Because I think ownership pushes him down below those guys, which I'm checking right now. But go, give me your thoughts as far as Atlanta. Somebody, oh, we have news.
A little news for you, Dean. Just a little one. But Royce O'Neal is also out. He's now doubtful tonight. Royce O'Neal. Okay, so we'll talk about Utah in a minute.
Oh,
but Royce O'Neal being doubtful is interesting for a couple of different reasons. We'll talk about it in a minute, Dean. I just want to break down for you, but we haven't talked about Utah yet. But we'll get to it in a minute. But Trae Young is interesting to me because Atlanta's still definitely trying to win games here, definitely trying to put this thing away. And I'm not going to try to predict the blowout because you never know. Washington's been playing really good, so Trae Young may get the full run here, and if he does, he could drop 60 tonight. That he can do that. So he's interesting like that, but it's just a matter of what you prefer. Luka or some of the other guards or value guards, or there's Trae Young. I think he's really interesting though because tonight, what do you want tonight is either just like blatant value plays that could get you with some upside, not just like Ish Smith is going to be, what is he, maybe capped at like 30 points maybe. That's kind of what he does even in good games. I want blatant upside in my value plays, like those OKC guys dropping 50s and 60s these days. But that
happens when you play 45 minutes.
Yeah. So, we don't think Ish has that in him. And then there's also, other than blatant value guys, I want stars that I know have to win games. Like I know these guys want to win games, and Trae Young is in that category. This team has to win. They don't want to get dropped into that 9-10 spot. So I think Trae Young's interesting because he could put up a monster game tonight. And I kind of disagree with some of the ownership numbers on him. They seem a bit high. I don't think they'll be that high because there's just so many guards you can choose from. So I think
14% on FanDuel, 15% on DK. You think it's going to be lower than that?
I think so. How many? You only got 4 spots for guards right there. And, we're already talking about Lukas and all this. Kyrie's and all these other guys. Where's Trae Young fit in? I think it's a little bit lower than that, but monster upside. He's the guy. So other than Trae Young, though, not a lot interests me on there. I don't think I want to take a shot on Herter or Hunter. And I don't play the wrong Bogdanovich tonight. I don't think this is the Bogdanovich you want. I think it's the guy, maybe the guy from the Utah game.
Dude, Bogdan's 5'5". That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, and but he's just so hit or miss. He's so hit or miss with a good game, a couple bad ones, a good one, and the good games are typically like you'll get in the mid 30s. I don't know if that's enough for you tonight. Like if Trae Young were to sit or something like that, then that's a different story. But just with Young and everybody healthy right there, I don't know if that's the guy I want. But we'll talk about his brother in a minute. And then there's Capella if you want to, I don't see it. He's a center only, and you're locking up your center spot on Capella. He's put up some good numbers lately, but I think there's better routes than Clint Capella. So to me, It seems like it's a Trae Young night. I think he's going to put up a good game. If that's one of the stars you choose to play, so be it. I wouldn't hate on that one.
So let's just say our ownership number is right on Trae Young and it's 15% or 14, whatever it is. That's still like really appealing to me. You're suggesting it might be lower, but 15% on a 6-game slate, and Trae Young could absolutely be the highest scorer in the slate, and it wouldn't shock any of us. So yeah, I want to be over that. If it's 15%, I want to be over. I love that. And if it's potentially even less than that, it's even better. Bogdanovich questionable. If he plays, he's interesting, especially if Gallinari doesn't go. But I think 5.5 is a pretty good price on him on both DK and on FanDuel. And Capella is just, Okongwu is stealing too many of his minutes. This is kind of he's, we're projecting him for 29. Of course, he can get the 32 or 33, but that's like you're begging for that. And it should be a good matchup against Washington. But I don't know. Again, I'm not ready to discourage it. But am I prioritizing Capella? Of course not. Anything else here? I'm moving on.
I think we can safely move on.
All right. Bo, when you hit the buzzer, I thought we are going to have Washington news. I thought we called it right on the, as we're talking about it, but I guess that's not how it went down, unfortunately. News is coming out for tomorrow. But we're sounding doubtful. Like, come on, he's out, right? Well, why are we doing that?
Man, we don't need the news dumps for tomorrow either. Come on, these guys need to get it. Dean, I got a question for you before we move on to the next game.
Go for it.
When you do your content for Rotogrinders, like ranking, survey, whatever you do, what time in the day do you usually do that?
So I used to do it at 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then all I would do, as the season progresses, I do it later and later, because that whatever I'm putting out there at 2 o'clock almost always is going to expire. And it's going to be bad content at 4 o'clock or 4:30 and 5 o'clock. And we do have timestamps. Like it clearly says what time the last time somebody, that person adjusted their rankings. So hopefully people catch that. But I'm sure right now is a chance. So somebody has Ayton ranked right now in our rankings. That's possible. I'm sure they'll get back to it and get rid of it. I imagine so at some point. But now I'm doing it at 3:30, at 4 o'clock. And then I'll if I try to, go back and change it if I can, if something really crazy happens. But at this point, I think you're best to use the lineup HQ tool. That's going to be the most up-to-date thing as far as rankings, that kind of stuff. But I do my best because I was staring at my screen today doing rankings, and that's when the Phoenix news dropped. And I think Utah news dropped, and I'm just froze. And I'm like, well, I can't, what am I doing? I'm just wasting my time. I'm just going to throw this all away. Yeah. Meansy in Meansy's core article would he does a great job, and he writes it probably 7 a.m. And a lot of it, it's great information, but it might expire at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And it's a miserable feeling for him, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, how about yourself?
Well, it's interesting, Dean, because I like to knock my stuff out early, because I don't think people are building lineups at that time of day. I think that some people want to, that maybe they're on their lunch break. They got an hour and they just want to read something about tonight. So they just want to look at something, and it's better to have something out there that you can obviously edit and change later on. So I think people are smart enough now to know that I shouldn't be building lineups at 12 o'clock for a 6 o'clock slate, in the NBA. So I like to put it out nice and early and adjust as the day goes on. But sometimes I catch flack from guys that I put out stuff too early. It's crazy. It's bizarre, man.
Well, it's a tricky thing because, do you want to be early and not as accurate? You know what I mean? Do you want your content to be not as actionable? Right. So it's a tough call. And I don't know what people want. I would love some feedback. Do people really want me to post at 1 o'clock and then just go back and throw it out and change it? I'm not sure. I'm curious what people's opinion. What do the members want?
That'd be great. Let's put that down and run a poll here after the season ends. Let's run a poll on when people want that content. That could be something we could change next year.
We got anything else as far as we're moving on, right? Washington, Atlanta, moving on. We have 3 games. No. Yeah. Wait, yes, 3 games. My UCF math took me a second. 3 games left. Boston at Chicago, 224.5 is the total. Boston is a 7-point favorite. As far as the injuries, as far as the body parts, Boston should be good to go. Everybody's healthy there with the exception of Robert Williams. Chicago, we're expecting Zach LaVine to play tonight. Did not play yesterday. Alex Caruso is going to sit. DJJ should be available. Lonzo shut down for the season. As far as incentive, this is the really tricky one with Boston because, it seems like the most likely scenario is that Brooklyn gets the 7. So they're most likely to face whoever wins the 2. Boston right now tied with Milwaukee and Philadelphia 2 through 4. I don't even know if you can make any decision points at this point, but yeah, I it's just sort of interesting. I'm curious to watch how it goes down and how teams may do something the last day or two. But is that worth even considering it right now? You think the teams are thinking about that?
Absolutely. 100%.
And what are they doing with it?
They don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, they're all kind of waiting for something else to happen.
Nobody knows what's going to happen here with Brooklyn. Nobody knows where Brooklyn's really going to end up. It's crazy. It's bizarre. But nobody, if they could handpick, who they play in the first round, if they knew what was going to happen, then they could adjust. But they don't really know. And I'm seeing not that it's going to happen tonight, but I'm seeing like the questionable tags next to Tatum, Brown, Horford. So it's, they're projected and we're assuming they're going to play, but it wouldn't be shocking. Wouldn't be a total shock to see that news blurb come in that 2 or 3 guys are sitting down for Boston because nobody knows what's going on. So I'm leery of this game for a lot of reasons. Number one, which speak to the game in general, Chicago, they played their second night of a back-to-back. Now they're playing a Boston team where if Boston is playing all their guys, this is a very difficult matchup for an offense. We've learned over the last 3 months that you don't want to be playing too many players against Boston's resurgent defense. So back-to-back and a tough defense scares me off of DeRozan, scares me off of Levine, who should be coming back from an injury. The guy that's interesting kind of is Vucevic, just because Robert Williams isn't there to do whatever he was going to do in the middle and help rim protect. So maybe Vuce gets loose, but again, a big man on a back-to-back is never a great idea. So I don't even know about that one. So Chicago scares me. And then Boston scares me because I am afraid that, 30 minutes before the game time, we get the news that some guys are sitting in. And I don't know that this certainly isn't a must win for Boston, considering, it's not like Atlanta, Brooklyn, those teams, they have to win. And we know that Boston's kind of just middling it. They don't know what's going on. So I'm worried about this game in general. Let's put it like that.
The other weird thing is that, well, first of all, this is the front end of a back-to-back. Tomorrow night, they're in Milwaukee. So they're facing one of the teams they're jockeying with. Who knows what happens then? Who knows if they're going to want to win that game? And maybe they do, maybe they don't. And then I'm sure you've heard the rumors about Boston. So a couple of Boston guys may be unvaccinated.
Jaylen Brown, yeah.
There's rumors out there, no speculation. And then there's a chance if they fall to the 4, which again, they're technically tied 2 through 4, they would play Toronto. So Boston, we would think, would not want to play Toronto. Again, if that stuff is true and there's speculation, and who knows?
Only they know if it's true or not. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like if we knew for a fact that they absolutely 100% don't want to face Toronto, yeah, we could have banked on them trying to win this game.
They want to win.
Yeah, but we don't know that. It may just all be they may be laughing at everybody right now with these conspiracy theories, knowing that all these guys are vaccinated and they're not worried about going to Toronto. So who knows?
Yeah, and if people aren't aware, that means they wouldn't be able to play in Toronto road games in the playoffs, and obviously that would be that would hurt their chances of moving on to the playoffs. There you go.
I'd call it now, Dean. I'd call it now. And I know it's off, but if they had to face Toronto and they didn't have Jaylen Brown for those Toronto games, Toronto would beat them in the series.
They could just win their home games, like theoretically.
Toronto would beat them. Toronto's.
Yeah,
I think because I already think Boston is being a tad bit overvalued going into the playoffs, but that's a whole different story.
Ownership wise, there is some guys grabbing ownership. DeRozan at 25% on DK. I mean, obviously, I liked him more when Levine was out. So Levine is back. You mentioned Vuk. Vuk had played one of the worst games of the season last night, completely horrendous. I believe it was like 2 of 17 or so from the field. Opportunity there was what matters, and you can't assume that's going to continue going forward. Just trying to think. Yeah, the guys like Kobe White are kind of thin because, where there's so much better value, so much cleaner value than a guy like Kobe White, which is much, much thinner. Theoretically, I guess he can get you there, but like we'll talk about some other pieces that just look a much cleaner path to fantasy success. FanDuel wise, Chop, let's see. Tatum's getting 38%. He's 9-4 over there. That's a big boy number. Smart, kind of a discount for him at 5-6, 34%. Horford, 26%, 6.5K. I don't love that. I know he's getting more run, obviously, with that Williams, but I don't know. That's fine, but that seems kind of a big number. Give me this. I know you don't love this game, but give me your favorite player on each side of it.
Favorite player, assuming everybody plays right now. Favorite player, Vooch for Chicago, and maybe Boston's so tough, but I might say Marcus Smart for Chicago. I kind of don't want to spend the big money on Tatum and Brown, so I'd probably prefer a cheaper guy for Boston, and kind of Marcus Smart fits in there. So maybe Smart, but like I said, I don't really have a lot of interest, and I don't think I'll be playing anybody from this game. But those ownership numbers are eye popping to me on FanDuel for Boston.
It's pretty big,
yeah, they're huge. Considering all things considered, that Chicago could get blown out again, like they've been getting blown out. And
speaking of teams that are overrated,
yeah, exactly, and so might not get a full run for these guys. Like I said, I don't like seeing the little questionable tags next to the stars' names for Boston. There's a lot going on here that scares me off of them.
Okay, these next, the OKC Utah game. Let's talk about this one. Oh boy. All right. So we've already kind of hinted at what happened last night with OKC. They had 10 guys dressed. They chose to play, I believe, 6, possibly 7, but really only 6 guys played minutes. Lindy Waters was too good. He made a couple threes and they kicked him off the courts, and you can't do that anymore. And like that sounds like a joke, but that's true. That is what happened. He made a couple shots and they had to put an end to that one. Now we got news that they just DFA'd or cut. What's his name? Now I'm forgetting his name already. Sarr?
Olivier Sarr.
Okay. I'm already losing it for some reason. Yeah, and they called up some guy named, what's this person's name? That's now Melvin Frazier Jr.
Little Frazier Jr.
A chop fact, his dad, his dad was a great boxer. I don't know if you know that. Maybe his grandfather.
You sure that's not Joe Frazier? You sure it's not Joe Frazier?
His uncle. Somebody in his family was a great boxer. Yeah, so I have no idea what OKC is doing. And do we think they again just screw around and say we're just going to play guys for 6 or 7 guys? And a lot's going to be told, I think, in the starting lineup. Like if Poku's not starting, I think Poku doesn't play. If he starts, it's still uncomfortable. Same deal with Maladon. Same deal with Wiggins. Like I don't trust any of it. But I think Horde and Simpson, and maybe Frazier starts. I have no idea. What can we do with this, man? Like there's going to be value here because they're incredibly cheap, and somebody's going to play 40+ minutes. Maybe 2 somebodies, maybe 3.
Yeah, I would say. So here's I spent quite a bit of time this morning, Dean, coming up with a good for the survey. What do we got? That first question where what
expert survey,
stat or trend, that stands out to you. So I sat down because something was jumping in my head. Like I need to figure this out, And so I started looking at the last 7 games, because 7 games ago is when Shai Gilgeous got ruled out for the last time, and that was going to be it for a season, right? So they've gone 7 games now without Shai Gilgeous. Just trying to figure out what they're doing with their rotations and how they're getting all their fantasy points. So you take the top 2 fantasy scorers, DraftKings and FanDuel, top 2 fantasy scorers from Oklahoma City, the last 7 games, each of the last 7 games. And they're averaging about 45 points each. So you're getting about 90 points from the top 2 guys for Oklahoma City over the stretch of the last 7 games. And the salaries, when you take those 2 guys and you just look at the salaries they had that night, you spent about $5,000 each on DraftKings and $5,300 each on FanDuel. Meaning you're getting about, 90 points a night for $10,000 salary from the top 2 Oklahoma City guys. They're letting the cheaper the guy, the less known he is, basically. They're letting the cheap, young, no names get all the run in the world because obviously they're trying to lose every game. So I'm kind of looking at like if your salary is up there and we know your name, I don't have as much interest in you tonight if you're on Oklahoma City. If you're down there in the $4,000 range, you're kind of interesting to me, man. 4, 5, 6. Jalen Horde could be interesting again tonight, and
he's been incredible.
Yeah, and who's some of these guys? I can't even pronounce their name, Dean. I'm sorry, but I can't even give it a shot. But you know who I'm talking about? These Serbians and guys like this.
I think Georgios is probably Greek. I would imagine that looks like
he's Greek. And then there's this Vit Krejci.
That's Vit Krejci.
Who knows? Like these guys are the guys I'm looking at. Like these are the value guys. Because like you said, Poku, I'm just not sure you're going to get. If he's not in the starting lineup, no, thank you, man. I definitely don't touch him. He's gonna be a scratch.
What Roby, if he is? I still don't feel comfortable about it.
Yeah, Roby, if he's starting, sure, but I have a feeling he might be a little too good tonight, and he might not get to start. Maladon, pumping the brakes on Maladon. I think he might be another one that's too good. So I want the cheap guys from Oklahoma City. I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm looking for the cheap guys. I think one or two of them do really well.
What about the theory that OKC knows they're like, big dogs tonight versus Utah? I guess they're not even that big with Utah rolling out some pieces. What's the official line now? Just 6? Well, no. That's not right, is it? Oh, no, 16. Okay. Yeah. 15, 16. So what about the theory that OKC just says, okay, well, we're not going to do anything too goofy. We're going to basically play our rotations because the tank's going to take care of itself. We're going to lose no matter what we try and do. So we might as well, at least put up a spirit of effort, like with like legitimate basketball players as much as they can do. I guess we'll know that, I think, with the starting lineup. Our projection team is, I don't know if they're hedging, but you look at the minutes we're projecting. I think it's a big hedge. And because again, I don't want the job to project minutes. You got to take a stand, and it's impossible to do, especially not knowing the starting lineup. But our projection team is just kind of throwing their hands up on the OKC, and we have Horde projected for 28 minutes, and that could be 15 minutes too low.
Yeah,
it's not their fault. Like, what are they supposed to do?
And that's that might be one issue you encounter this time of year with trying to run an optimal, is that you're going to get these minutes in theory spread around by the lineup HQ, but in actuality, we're probably going to see a couple of these guys grab 40 minutes, kick other guys off the court, and their 28 minutes is actually going to be closer to 10 or even 0. And like last night, you could get another 6-man, 7-man rotation where the 5 starters end up playing 35 plus minutes. So I think the key here is let's look and see what the starting lineup looks like if we get it and when we get it. Keep some roster spots open.
We should run a Rotogrinders contest. Project the OKC starting lineup. Like whoever we should figure that out. Like get the RG Twitter account involved in this somehow. I'm giving somebody else some work now, but like if you can if somebody properly guesses the OKC Thunder, I mean, if you get the starting 5 perfectly for OKC. You get a Rotogrinders t-shirt, and we will fly you to Dean's house, and you could have dinner and a movie. What's the French musical you were watching instead of the college basketball championship the other night, Dean? I watched. It was not a French musical, but it was an Indonesian movie called Photographer.
Brutal, man.
Are you out on captions? This had it was with the voiceover or whatever in English, but are you out? Captions, are you done? You got to read? You saw Parasite, right?
I did see Parasite. I can, if a movie's good enough, I can hang in there with some closed captioning, but it better be good, man. Better be good.
Yeah. Parasite was good, right? Parasite you liked?
I would rather, Parasite was pretty good. I would rather watch closed captioning, than watching the bad dubs that some TV shows have come to America with, the bad dubbing. That's terrible.
But I'm the old man that puts. I have closed captioning on my TV at all times. Are you that guy?
No, man. My daughter, she does that. I hate it. I have to remove it every time she watches my TV. I don't like that stuff.
All right. Give me your power rank.
How much time do we have here on the show?
We'll figure
Do we
this
have
out.
time?
We got time.
I got a beef. I got a beef, man. Something I hate, Dean. Something I hate. The
What
other day,
grinds your gears?
I had to turn in my Spectrum cable box because it's a couple years old and it was starting to malfunction, right? Freezing up. So I needed to get a new box.
Yeah.
I took it down to the side, got my new box, bring it home. Two big things here, Dean. Number one, all your shows that you've built up on the DVR over the years, and all of you have programmed throughout the years that this is one of my favorites. Please record this when new episodes come out on it all gets wiped out. Like I knew that going in, so I'm
what
okay.
What got wiped out? Was there like one show like you're gonna because you can find all of them,
all of them, Dean. Like shows that let's say Better Call Saul, for example. Like I've got that program to where when the new episodes were to come out, even later this month, it would record. It's been like that for years. Now I have to remember. Oh shoot, I better. Even though it's not on the TV right now, I have to remember to go do that later. And we're talking about like dozens of shows like that. So that's already bad enough. Second bad thing with it is that they gave me a new remote control, man. It's just totally different than the other remote control, which I was all like, I had it perfect. I know exactly where every button is. Now I got to restart. Just terrible. They just gets me.
Can we all just agree on one remote that works for every TV? Just one remote that works for
I thought we had it. I thought they named it the universal remote. And then there's like 50 different remotes now. No, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I hear you on that, but like you have the Netflix, right? You can fire up Better Call Saul that way. They're all on there on demand.
I don't think the new Better Call Sauls are not on Netflix.
New season kicks in a couple weeks before the actual season 6, the last season goes, but you can catch up. The new season hits Netflix very, very soon. So this month before it kicks in. If you want to, I was thinking of rewatching last season before the new season fires up. I'm excited for that. Hey, Let's talk about Utah. Because Utah is going to be without some pieces as well, and they're super important, and they're facing OKC, and OKC stinks. Utah is without Donovan Mitchell, big usage guy. Trent Forrest currently questionable with his concussion. Mike Conley is also out because he's old. Therefore, we're seeing, one of the Bogdanoviches is certainly interesting. It gets a rise in appeal. Jordan Clarkson should get a ton of usage. Rudy Gobert, whatever center OKC is going to throw out, he should dominate and just get a pile of boards. We're projecting Juancho Hernan-Gomez to draw the start. I think like ambitious stuff like is kind of interesting in like large field tournaments. House, same deal. If you want to bank on a blowout, Hassan Whiteside can really have himself a good time out there, like in 20 minutes if that happens. Talk to me about the Utah. This game as a whole is like, it's backloaded. Like the fantasy goodness in this game's really good. OKC, Utah, and then of course we'll talk about Phoenix in a second as well. Your takes as far as the Jazz?
Well, I definitely like some Jazz, guys. I am a little weary that Oklahoma City is going to they've won a couple games in a row now. So
they won 2 in a row.
That's not good for them. They may I'm really worried that they may just completely wave the white flag, which would mean that a guy like Gobert, who thrives with Mitchell off the court. A guy like that may not be in the game all that long tonight. So I'm worried about that. But assuming that, let's say it stays somewhat competitive, I like Gobert. He's center only eligible. That's a little bit tough to swallow. I like Clarkson. I think he has more of a leverage there. His main thing is not so people we're trying to jam him in with Mike Conley out, but his true value comes with Donovan Mitchell out. So now you got both of them out. So Clarkson, in theory, should really blow up tonight. But again, he is a key member of the rotation. If it's a 30-point game in the third quarter, he may not get a single minute in the fourth quarter. Bogdanovich is the same way, a veteran player. I think he's going to thrive, but worry about the blowout. Guys who I think blowout proof maybe. I think maybe if you want to take shots, these are GPP shots. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, maybe, and I'm looking at Trent Forrest. If Trent Forrest ends up playing, he has a Q tag next to him, concussion. I don't know if he's going to play or not. If he plays, that's fine. If he doesn't play, they have another guy. Let me pull that up real quick. Who was it I was looking at?
Well, I think
the guy from Baylor.
Elevated in house.
The guy from Baylor, Jared Butler, I think is the guy that they have. That if Trent Forrest were to not play, maybe Butler. But is definitely a GPP guy tonight that I think this game is going to be a blowout. Now, that doesn't mean that Gobert, Clarkson, or Bogdanovich can't get there in 2.5 quarters and crush and win you a GPP, but you may get some extended run out of these younger guys.
Who's your favorite fringe guy as of right now? Is it like Dan House? Is it? And now we're projecting House to start. That's why we have 31 minutes on him. We're projecting Hernangomez to start. That's why we have 28 minutes on him. Now we have 17. Forrest, we got 20. Of course, Forrest cannot play in those 20 minutes we delegated. Like Butler currently not projected for the record, but like he would probably be introduced to the rotation. A few more minutes being thrown the way of Nah. But as far as your favorite fringe piece on the Utah side, who is it?
Fringe piece. You know what? It might be Hernangomez. It might be Hernangomez. Fringe. Just because, waving the white flag on Royce O'Neal means they know what's happening. They know what's coming tonight, and we might not see a whole lot of Gobert either. So, and he's showing upside. Those Hernangomez brothers, I don't know where they came from, but they got some fantasy upside all the time. So
there's an Adam Sandler movie coming up that's going to tell you where one of them came from. Are you excited for this on the Netflix? Or you know what this or no?
I haven't heard about this, Dean.
Juancho Hernangomez is starring in an Adam Sandler movie where, like, you saw The Air Up There, starring Kevin Bacon, and he discovered Mutombo's brother in Africa, right?
Uh-huh. Okay.
Well, I think it's the same kind of concept, except he discovers Juancho Hernangomez in Spain. He's like a scout, just like Kevin Bacon was.
Sounds great. Then that sounds like a movie I can watch. But yeah, I mean, like, these guys get on the court when they get minutes and they crush. So this may be a night where 25 minutes could equal 40 fantasy points for a guy like that.
Let's talk about the Hammer. An hour after OKC, that game, we have Phoenix taking on the Clippers. Phoenix 6-7 point dogs right now because, of course, all their starters are being benched with the exception of Mikal Bridges. So no Booker, no Paul, no Ayton, no Crowder. I'm curious what our projection team has in this because this is a concern of mine, and I wonder if it's our projection team's concern as well. So Mikal Bridges is one of those guys. He's going for the Iron Man deal where he starts every single game or plays there. I think it starts. Definitely played every single game. We might see, I'm not saying we might see a Draymond Green situation. And not to that extreme, but like we might see Bridges not play a ton of minutes. That's just kind of throwing it out there. It's just kind of getting some run, getting in some reps, but I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. In theory, like he'd be awesome, right? The only starter out there running the show. What do we have him for 26 minutes. So our projection team believes something similar. That there might be something goofy happening with Bridges. Do you have a thought on that? And of course, like you could touch on Campaign is just jumping off the page now, a 40% ownership on DK. Other ownership guys on the Phoenix side. Well, Campaign's the big one, JaVale McGee. FanDuel 3.5K, 4.2 on DK. Only can roster one, of course, on FanDuel, and he should draw the start. Bismack probably backs him up. Yeah. Thoughts as far as Phoenix, and do you agree, or is that kind of, again, a hedge with Bridges as far as 26 minutes?
I tend to agree with you in that why would you rule out 4/5 of your starting lineup? Why would you rule out 4 and not rule out just all 5? Those guys obviously clearly hurt. They're playing the second game of a back-to-back, and that's why, and you've got everything clinched up. So why not just do Bridges too? Well, like you said, we saw that with Draymond, go in there and get him a minute and foul and get out of the game just to extend the streak or something like that. Like Klay Thompson was coming back one night and he just wanted to make sure he was on the court for a minute with Klay Thompson.
That was so silly.
That was, man. But, it could be the same thing. So you're right. So for me personally, because of that, can't touch Bridges. 100% agree with you. That could be a thing. If you're asking me, my favorite player on Phoenix is JaVale McGee. He's not a super big part of the normal rotation. When we get to the playoffs, we'll get even more Aiden. So he's just a reserve, and he's shown massive fantasy upside before when given the time, and he'll get some minutes tonight. I think. I don't think he'll get cut short very much. So, yeah, I think JaVale's my favorite guy, but I'm with you on Bridges. I'm eliminating him from my player pool because I feel like that could be the situation that happens.
Do you feel like you have to play Campaign?
Absolutely not. And I don't think I think the projections are telling you that he's a fine play, but he's not a must play. Like, I think he's okay. Like we've already talked about, point guard, shooting guard. Even with multi-position eligibility, you've only got four of those guys you can play. Out of all the guys we've talked about, is he in the top four? I don't know, man. It's close. I wouldn't besmirch you, somebody who did play campaign, but I just think there's other guys out there that are just as good, if not a lot better.
He's in my top four. Again, when ownership comes in, it's a different conversation and all that kind of stuff. By the way, I mentioned at the top of the show about Aaron Holiday being still minimum 3K. We've adjusted him a little bit. And that one I wasn't thrilled about it, but now I see where we have him down to 18 minutes. I guess it's possible he starts or whatever, and that jumps up. But yeah, he's not like the screaming value that he was earlier. That's sort of adjusted. He's still 6x projected, which is fine. But I think there's better stuff on this slate in the pool, whatever, but not something you have to have. As far as the Clippers on the other side, they're expecting Powell to come back tonight. We know how Paul George came back and it was a hit to everybody as far as usage. Now Powell coming back will be a hit as well. That's why there's not a lot appealing on the Clippers side. Both these teams are locked into their spots, locked in. So I don't know how much they would push their players. We've seen wonkiness for a long time now with the Clippers rotations. They're still kind of figuring stuff out with the better stuff that works. And that's important going into the playoffs. And maybe they want to see what works with Powell and Paul George and the best players alongside them. But long story short, not a lot of ownership here, Chop. Paul George, 12%. Rjax, 12% on DK. That's it. Like as far as double digits. Paul George, 24% on FanDuel. 7 for Rjax, and that's it. Are you enthused about the Clippers?
I'm not like enthused, but I'm not scratching them off my list because number one, Phoenix, even with the reserves, are a tough out. It's not like I don't think this game gets too crazy out of hand too quick. So I think they are still interesting. And number two, without Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Jay Crowder, they're much weaker defensively. So it does lend itself to more fantasy scoring for these guys. I can definitely see a scenario where a Paul George or a Reggie Jackson go in there, put up a monster score, before they exit the game. So I'm interested. I'm not like going out of my way to like jam them in. Like I would much rather jam in pieces from New York and Brooklyn, but I can definitely see I'm not scratching them off my player pool. I think they're interesting.
Some questions we have from chat. Producer Steven compiled these for us. Would you stack KD and Kyrie with them playing potentially 40 minutes, assuming this game stays tight? Can you play them both in the same lineup?
Okay, so now I will double back to what we were talking about earlier. Now, if you're playing both of those guys, now I definitely want to run it back with a New York guy or two. So, yes, I definitely would play them because they are the center of that team. They could both have big game, but in that case, you're hoping it's competitive. And if it's competitive, you will need whatever New York Knick you choose to run it back with.
All right. Oddly specific question. Favorite flat 3K forward from Chicago, Boston, or Washington, Atlanta? I assume that's DK since it says flat. I've sorted our lineup HQ by forwards on just those two games. Patrick Williams is 3.5. There's nobody flat 3K. So I don't know if it had to be strictly 3K. But Patrick Williams is probably the best option. Like Bogdanovich is the best dollar for dollar guy, assuming he plays. Avdia can get loose. Again, he's 5.4 if Washington potentially rules out some guys, but you don't really have a 3K guy. The best one amongst that group is Patrick Williams. Let's see. A few more questions we have. Gafford. Is he a guy to look at tonight on FanDuel for tournaments? And Ish Smith. Talking about Gafford and Ish.
Yeah, I think is both guys we mentioned, and I wasn't as enthused on Ish Smith because we talked about the 4 spots at your guard positions, and he's going to take up one of them. So I don't like that. But Gafford is very intriguing because he's shown fantasy upside. We're talking about maybe Washington waving the white tag. We get word that like Porzingis is out or not going to play his full allotment of minutes. Or even if we don't get that word, I think Gafford's very interesting for tournaments. Yeah, I do like Gafford, and not nearly. I don't like Ish Smith nearly as much.
Dosunmu, Patrick Williams, are they worth a shot? Dosunmu, White, and Patrick Williams worth a shot in for FanDuel tournaments. Your favorite amongst those three, like they're all to various degrees, I think, worth a shot. But again, none of them are like the best value on the slate. Yes, Caruso's out, but Levine is back. Do you have a preference amongst those Chicago guys, the Sumo, White, Williams?
Oh man, dude, well, out of those three, it's going to be Patrick Williams, basically because of the position. But I would say that I'm not like super enthused about playing any of them. You're going up against a tough team, a really tough team. So I don't know. I just think there's better. Like the decisions to me tonight aren't going to be about Chicago Bulls players or players from this team or that. It's about which Oklahoma City guy is going to go for 45 tonight, because somebody's going to do. I'm going to try to narrow it down.
Who's it going to be?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, right now I have to. Well, I tell you, we have to keep. I think you keep those spots open and looking to see who's in the starting lineup for Oklahoma, because that's going to tell you everything you need to know. They're not going to run a deep bench tonight, I don't believe. So if you're in the starting lineup,
which is why you don't play Detroit guys at 7:00, which is why you don't play anybody. That first game, I think I want to be light on, basically, right? At least that first game, maybe beyond that.
The first game I'm light on. Brooklyn, New York looks fine. I could even make a case for limiting your Washington, Atlanta exposure. And waiting, getting down there because at worst case scenario, your two games tonight are both pretty really, the Oklahoma City stuff. But then if Oklahoma City didn't go the way you wanted it to, that starting line, you still have Utah value, Phoenix value. You have plenty of outs. So I would leave some spots open. Yeah.
Leave yourself some flexibility too. And like you said, if you can leave yourself $1,000 to give you some, flexibility, if things don't crack your way, try and do that. We got to step aside and make way for Crunch Time. Shop. Got more questions before we do that. Crunch Time, of course, the premium show here at Rotogrinders.com. Andy Means, Kevin Roth, take you guys straight up to lock. We need not answer your question. They're happy to answer your question as well. Give me an interest level in Bismack Biyombo instead of JaVale McGee. Well, what's the chances of Bismack swipes his minutes?
Well, sure, they're both going to get a little minute spike, but yeah, I'm more on. I'm definitely more on JaVale. I just feels like JaVale does more with his minutes usually. So yeah, I don't think I'm a Bismack guy tonight.
Who do you think the two best spend-ups are in this slate? Big spends.
Great question. I'm going to say Kevin Durant, and I hate to eliminate this guy, but I'm going to eliminate Luka and go Trae Young, just because I know for sure Trae Young wants to and needs to win this game badly.
Who's winning the Masters? Give me a name.
Oh man, one name. I'm going to say one
or
name.
Two.
I'm going to say, twisting my arm right now, I'll say Jordan Speed. I'm going to go for the Texas guy.
How many OKC guys can you see yourself playing? 2, possibly 3?
3 max.
Claxton Simpson versus Juancho and Landry Shamet. Good Lord.
What in the what?
I mean, I get the question. Simpson, Claxton, you're kind of hoping for Drummond foul trouble, and Claxton's sort of limited to play his 22 minutes, if that, versus Juancho, we presume is going to start, and Shamet, we presume is going to start. I think I like that pairing better.
Yeah, I want to chase upside, and I think the upside lies with the second one.
Although Simpson might play 40 minutes. So,
he might.
I don't know how great
he might be too good. He might not play any.
Oh man, it's so wild. Chop, you excited about baseball? Baseball, we're starting up tomorrow. This is why you hit the like button. This is why you subscribe. This is why you turn on notifications, because you will know tomorrow when we go live for baseball. I believe Blender is talking some baseball afternoon. What a weird time to kick the season off, Thursday afternoon during the. It's like
it's going to be a pretty incredible 24 hours with the Masters lineups locking, and then you get right into baseball right after the opening day. So it's going to be an incredible 24. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to baseball this year.
And baseball is free as far as Crunch Time on the YouTube, and you're going to want that not just to hear the thoughts of guys like Dave Potts, Cheese is good, Derek Carty, and all the analysts, but you're also going to get chief meteorologist Kevin Roth that lets you know what's going on weather-wise. That right there. It's going to be free. So, yeah, hit that like button. Do subscribe to the channel. We do have to step aside and get out of here and make way, Chop. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Hopefully this wasn't too torturous for you. You've hit your quota for talking to me for the next month or so. Anything else with people before we step aside and get out of here?
No, guys. Good luck. Keep your eyes on the news, man. That's going to be the big thing. And let's go. Let's have a good baseball season, Dean.
Congrats to producer Steve on a child. That's a little bit late, but still want to throw it out there to him. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to Chop. Shout out to the chat. Do it that like button. And that was basketball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Oh!